What's up, guys? It's Josh again. I hope you guys are having a great week. I had a pretty good week as well. Starting to like how the economy's opening up slowly. It's starting to get good, and I'm enjoying that part of it. But I pray you guys had a good week. I know a lot of people are still out there essential, and you got to work through all this stuff. And I pray that you guys are still being safe and healthy and being blessed. But I'd like to open up today with a prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you right now, Lord. And I thank you for another Friday of being able to talk to everybody. It's a privilege to be able to do this. Not everybody gets to be able to do this. And I thank you for the privilege to be able to do this. And I pray that they will, including myself, listen to this with open ears and open eyes and open minds, Father. And I pray that we'll be able to get something out of it. If not everything, get something. Get a key thing out of it that God is trying to tell that person. Because God can tell many people different things. And I pray that you'd speak through me, Father, because I don't want to speak through me. I want you to speak through me, Lord. And I pray that you would just shower everybody who's watching this with your peace and your love in Jesus' name. Amen. So today I got my title is called Where We Begin. And I got that from another song. What's cool is like a lot of songs is where I get a lot of my titles, because I like music. Music is a way I can get my feelings out. And that's the way that God can talk to me. So that's why a lot of my stuff comes from titles of songs, which is really cool to me because I can relate to them a lot. But Where We Begin, it came from the song The End Is Where We Begin by 1,000 Foot Crush. It is a Christian rock band. I don't know if you're a rock type of person. My dad hates rock, but it's okay. I like rock. I like a little something, everything. Rap, rock, country. But it's The End Is Where We Begin by 1,000 Foot Crush. And it's a pretty good song. Yeah, it's rock, but it's got some really good lyrics. But every Christian has a beginning. Every Christian didn't just come out of the womb and Christian. Or maybe you were raised in a Christian house, but everybody's got to have that one awe moment to where they really become real. Because you can be raised in a Christian house and just like I was and just do the stuff, go through the motions, but I didn't really grasp the concept of a real Christian until I had my awe moment. And most Christians, if not all, they have that awe moment where they're like, something happens like me where I was in a very little part of my life and God showed himself to me. That was my awe moment. That is where I grasped it, because I went through the motions plenty of times, but that is where I actually understood what it meant and actually understood that God's legit. He's not just a spirit. He's legit. He's there. He's really there with us. Yeah, he's a spirit, but he's there. And every Christian had to come to the end of their fleshly life to begin their journey. And that's where I got this title, The End Is Where We Begin. And I'll make it a little more simple later on in my little lesson, because I will actually take some of the lyrics and I'll read them to you and show you what it means. But the end is where we begin, which means the end of our fleshly life, what we want to do. When we come to the end of that and trust God and actually say, okay, you're in control, that's where we truly begin. And what God brought to me today was the story of Jonah. But it's cool because he showed me two different parts of it. And I'll tell you a little bit about the story of Jonah. You can obviously read Jonah 1 through 4 and get all of it from the Bible, which I did. I read 1 through 4 today, and it's actually a pretty good read. I liked it. And so God told Jonah, he spoke to Jonah and said for him to go to Nineveh and speak to the people of Nineveh and warn them, because they were all living in sin. They were all doing what they shouldn't be doing, and God was angry. He was mad. And God told Jonah to go warn them and to go talk to them and tell them, you've got to turn from your ways. God is not happy. He has sent me to come talk to you. So God told Jonah that, but instead of Jonah being obedient and doing that, Jonah ran. And you see, he was letting his flesh take control of him when he ran. He ran and he was headed to Tarshish on a ship. That's a really weird word, Tarshish. But he was headed there on a ship with a crew of fishermen. And as he was on the ship, he went down under into like the little, basically the basement of the ship. And he went down and fell into a deep sleep, as the Bible says. And there's a huge storm that God creates and riles up on this ship, and the waves crashing and everything. and they're doing everything they can. They're praying to their gods, little g. They're praying to their gods, trying to do what they can, seeing if they can please their gods, and nothing's happening. So then they come down to the basement of the ship where Jonah is sleeping, and he's like, the captain goes, Jonah, how are you sleeping right now? How are you asleep during all of this chaos? And then Jonah, he's still sleeping. He wakes up and he realizes what's going on. And they're saying, hey, pray to your God. And what I noticed in the Bible right there is as a little g, because they didn't understand the reverence of God. They said, pray to your God, thinking maybe he's like one of our gods. So he said, pray to your God, and maybe this will stop. So what they did is Jonah, they casted lots to see whose fault it was, who really was causing this, and as they always cast lots, as they did with Jesus' garments and stuff like that, they cast lots. And they casted lots, and it landed on Jonah. No coincidence, obviously, because it's Jonah's fault. But they landed on Jonah, and they're like, dude, what'd you do? What are you doing? And he knows that he's running from God, and he knows that he's in the wrong. So they're like, what do we do to make this better? And he's like, you gotta throw me into the water. Throw me overboard. They're throwing other stuff overboard, like different weights on the ship and stuff like that, just to get some weight up the ship, stop having it rock so much. But he's like, you gotta throw me over. And they didn't want to do that. And the Bible says they even tried to turn and just steer, just keep on rowing, because they didn't want to do that. But they wanted to keep on rowing and just see if they could do anything, but nothing worked. So finally, they threw Jonah over, and the storm stopped. And what happened there is when the storm stopped, everybody on that crew was like, wow. They realized that God was not a little g. It even said they gave reverence to God in a capital G after that in the next verse. That changed their lives. That was their all moment. And what's so cool is that Jonah didn't die. He deserved to, really. He knew he did. He even said that. But a fish, a whale, I guess you can call it a whale, we call it a whale, swallowed Jonah up for 3 days. And in the belly of this whale, fish, whatever it was, Jonah comes to a realization that he screwed up. And he's sitting there, and he's saying, even though I deserve to die, and even though all this stuff, God, I'm coming to you, show me some mercy, please. And he's just praying night in and night out, asking for forgiveness. And he goes, anything that you want, God, I will do. So, God said, all right then. He had, after 3 days, he had the whale spit Jonah out. And God tells Jonah again, I want you to go to Nineveh and preach the news that I told you to preach. And Jonah's like, all right, God, I'll do it. I will do it. I literally just got eaten by a fish. I'm not messing around no more. I will go to Nineveh and talk for you. So Jonah goes to Nineveh, and he starts preaching against what they're doing, against the sin. Not against the person, but against the sin. He's preaching against the sin. Because we're not to come against the person, we're to come against the sin. And as he's preaching against the sin, for 40 days, it said, he preached and preached. And then, actually, the people of Nineveh started to turn. And Jonah didn't really expect that. So they started to turn and be like, okay. And what's so cool is that they even fasted. A lot of people don't like to fast, but even the wickedest city, one of the wickedest cities, fasted before God. They didn't even let the animals eat or drink. They fasted, and they sat in sackcloth, and they just prayed, and just repented of what they did. And after that, Jonah went and he prayed and he preached and preached and preached, and they were starting to turn from what they were doing. And then Jonah went and he was on a mountain, and he actually got upset with God because of his mercy. And I'm going to read to you right here in Jonah 4 what that really went down as. So in Jonah 4, verse 1, it starts with, but it displeased Jonah exceedingly, and he became angry. So he prayed to the Lord and said, ah, Lord, was not this what I said when I was still in my country? Therefore I fled previously to Tarshish, for I know that you are a gracious and merciful God, slow to anger and abundant in loving kindness, one who relents from doing harm. Therefore now, O Lord, please take my life from me, for it is better for me to die than to live. Then the Lord said, Is it right for you to be angry? So Jonah went out of the city and sat on the east of the city. There he made himself a shelter and sat under it in the shade till he might see what would become of the city. So I just hear right here, Jonah saying, God, it's better for me to die than to live. I ran from you, knowing what I should have done, knowing I should have came here earlier, knowing I should have listened to you, but I ran from you, and I know you're a God of loving kindness and mercy, and I ran because of that stuff. And I deserve to die. I shouldn't even be living. So Jonah, then as it says, he goes up onto a mountain to sit there and watch what's going to happen. Because in Jonah's mind, they're about to be destroyed. How messed up is that we can sit there and we can watch destruction of someone else? And what's so scary is people like that today. We can do that ourselves. We can be straightened up by God and have Him get us humble again. And we go and do as He says, but in our mind, we're still watching for them to be destroyed. It's a guilty pleasure of theirs to watch them be destroyed. But as you see right here, where he goes, and he came out of the city, and the Lord prepared him a plant, and made it come over Jonah, that it might be shade for his head, to deliver him from his misery. So Jonah was very grateful for the plant, but as morning dawned the next day, God prepared a worm, and it so damaged the plant that it withereth. And it happened when the sun arose, that God prepared a vehement east wind, and the sun beat on Jonah's head, so that he grew faint. Then he wished death for himself and said, It is better for me to die than to live. So I start here, Jonah goes up on the hill, and it's obviously hot, it's obviously sunny, and God says, okay, I'm going to take care of you. Even though you ran from me, even though all this, I am a loving God, and I have mercy. So I'm literally going to take care of you. Here, I give you a plant to go over your head to shade you from the sun. Because she was miserable because it was hot. It was burning, and God says, here's a plant. But God is showing him something in this. And that's what I love about this part. I can tell my dad. God is literally showing him something in this. This isn't just, I'm going to give you a plant. God's showing him something. It says, as the next day, he created a worm, and the worm ate the plant. So then Jonah wakes up, and he's faint, and he's angry, and he's mad, and he's like, where's my plant? You gave me a plant just to take it away from me. It's practically what he's saying. And then God said to Jonah, is it right for you to be angry about the plant? And he said, it is right for me to be angry, even to death. But the Lord said, you have had pity on the plant for which you have not labored, nor made it grow, which came up in a night and perished in a night. And should I not have pity on Nineveh, the great city in which are more than 120,000 people who cannot discern between the right hand and the left, and much livestock? So right here he's saying, Jonah, why are you mad about this plant? And Jonah's like, oh, you took this plant from me, now I'm burning, now I'm doing this, now I'm hot. And he goes, you didn't plant the plant. You didn't soil it. You didn't even work for it. All you did was sit on your butt under the plant, and I provided it for you. So why are you mad at me because I took the plant? Oh, because you're a mercy God, and you need to give me my plant. And he says, that's funny, Jonah, let me stop you there. You want me to have mercy on you and give you and provide for you this plant. But you want me to wipe out, how much? 120,000 people. And by the way, that 120,000 people, or most of them, have just turned from their ways and honored God. And you want me to destroy them, but you want your plant. And that's so cool that he used that analogy to show how we can be sometimes. We want God to take care of us. We don't have to work for it. We just expect it sometimes. We expect God to take care of us. Lord, I pray every night, and I know you're going to take care of me, and it even says in the Bible, you will take care of those. Okay, you ain't working for it. Maybe God will take something from you to show you a lesson like he did with Jonah. But yet, when it comes to others that are living in sin, that you have known for a while that are living in sin, and then they start turning, and you're like, hold up. In your mind, you're like, wait a second. They can't really be turning. There's no way. They have been living in sin for how long? They're known as a sinful city. That's like us, sitting here today. What happens if the biggest revival takes place in Las Vegas? Sin City. And we're sitting here like, whoa, hold up. There's no way that many people got saved in Sin City. There's got to be something wrong. You got to be kidding me. Those people are supposed to be destroyed. They're living in sin. They're literally called Sin City. Who are we to judge? They can turn from their sin just as quick as we did from ours. But it's so hard for us to grasp that because we turn and we expect the mercy, but yet when it's someone else, it's hard to do. Because we like the mercy ourselves, but we don't like to pass it on. We were very selfish. And that's what Jonah was. He was very selfish. And I'm not calling anybody selfish, that's not what I'm saying. But he was very selfish. He said, God, I want my plant back. And God says, forget your plant. You want me to kill these people who just turned to me from their sin. When that is what I sent you here to do, is get them to turn from their sin. And you're too worried about them being destroyed. And while I got that, he also gave me, he said, Josh, look at it from the point of Nineveh. Okay? So I'm like, the point of Nineveh. Okay, cool. So we got Jonah right here. We got the little story of Jonah and how his point of view is. And we look at Nineveh now. So they're living in sin for however long. But yet, this man named Jonah comes into town. And he starts preaching. And they start listening. And they start realizing, this is legit. We really need to turn from our sin. And even the king, who wasn't even a Christian, was even in sackcloth, praying and fasting and saying, don't let the animals eat me. We are humbling ourselves, even the animals. I don't know about fasting today. I know they ain't got no animals fasting today. But, I mean, if you look at it from their standpoint, they're like, okay, we've got to get right, or we're going to be destroyed. Okay? So they get right, and they end their sinful ways. Just like I said, the end is where we begin. The end is where they began. They began to give reverence to God with a capital G. Just like those sailors with Jonah began to give reverence to God with a capital G. They stopped praying to the little guys. They gave reverence to Him, the one who stopped the storm. And if you just look at this, He just gave it to me. If you look at this whole lesson, this whole chapter is about the end. You got the sailors who were praying to their little guys. And then God showed up. The G, the capital G. And they gave reverence to Him and realized, that's God. These little things we're playing with ain't God. They ended that right there, the end, and they began to reverence God. Right here, Jonah was running. And he was in the belly of a fish for 3 days. And he ran. And then he's like, what am I doing? God has entrusted me of all people, to go speak His word in a sinful city. God, I will do that. He came to the end of His running, the end of His flesh, and began His journey with God, and began to reverence God. Nineveh, they're living in sin. They don't care what people say. They're living in sin. This man comes in to talk, Jonah, and he tells them what God said. And it wasn't Jonah that changed their hearts. It was the power in the words that he was saying. And they turned. They ended their sinful ways, and they began their trusting in God and their reverence to God. As I was actually talking to John Michael yesterday, it was pretty cool, because we were doing some stretches out here. We were running around the house while we get some cardio in with him. And he's like, Josh, my arm hurts. I'm like, okay. Josh, he started to break it down for me. His arm hurt. And it just popped in my head. I'm like, Jam, I want you to do something. I brought up the wall of Jericho. That's what God gave me. I'm like, listen, prayer and talking to God is one thing, but faith puts it into action. Because we can pray to God, and He hears us. He hears us. But you know dang sure the devil's going to come along and try to get you to doubt that. That's why I told him. I said, prayer, it's one thing to talk to God, but faith puts it into action. And he's like, okay, what does that mean? So I explained a little more. I said, what I want you to do, Jam, he doesn't like that nickname, but who cares? What I want you to do, I said, what hurts? He's like, my left arm, my right arm, they feel weak. I said, okay, probably from working out, whatever. I'm like, okay, anything else hurt? He goes, my leg hurts every now and then, because I guess he tweaked his leg one time in school. He goes, it hurts when I work out. I said, okay, Jam, what I want you to do, what God gave me was so awesome. I'm like, I'm going to sit right here, because I know what some kids are, they get nervous. Shoot, we get nervous to talk to God in front of people. What are you talking about? But I said, okay. I said, I want you to walk or run. I said, you can walk some and you can run some, but I want you to talk to God out loud. Walk around this house one time and talk to God out loud. And ask Him to heal you. Not just to heal you, but have faith. I said, they walked around that wall in Jericho silently. And then God told them, now's the time. And when God told them to blow that trumpet, the walls came down. I said, Joe Michael, this is your wall. Walk around this house and proclaim the healing of Jesus right now. He walked around the house and came on the other side. And he was, I can tell, a huge difference in his attitude. Shoot, I was serious. Like I am now, but who cares? I can tell a huge difference in his attitude. He comes up to me. I'm like, you talk to him out loud? He goes, yeah. So he talked back? He goes, no. So I laughed. I'm like, I'm the same way. But you gotta have faith. I said, Jim, what you did right there, He heard you. I know He heard you because you humbled yourself. And not only did you ask for it, but you walked around the house like it was the wall of Jericho, asking for Him to break that wall down. The enemy has so many walls on his people, on God's people. There's so many walls that we need broken. And we gotta have faith in it. Faith not in the wall, but faith in the God who broke the wall. You really think in Jericho when they walked around the walls and they blew that trumpet was so strong to knock down the wall? No. It was the God who said, now do it, and because you're obedient, I'm taking those walls down. And that city is yours. It was such a cool example because we were just sitting there working out, and God just brought us in. As He walked the house, I began to pray, and he began to pray, and he came back and said, "How is your arm?" He goes, "Actually, it's fine." "How's your leg?" "It's fine." "How's your other arm?" "It's good." I said, "Okay." He goes, "It's hurting a little bit." That's a little kid to do. "It's hurting a little bit, but it's good." I said, "Okay, keep moving and keep praying." I said, "Keep praying." I said, "You have to put in the faith in the prayer. The prayer is it's one thing, but faith carries it." But that's off subject. But I'm going to share what God has me to share. But Nineveh, back to the story, was living in so much sin. So much sin that God was so angry He was going to destroy them. He was going to just wipe them off the face of the earth. But it shows how powerful and how loving, how much mercy our God has. That even Nineveh, a sinful place that was known for sin, can truly repent. Now listen, I didn't say they turned and then went back. They repented. They turned. And God said, "No, Jonah, I'm sparing them." They turned from their ways. You know, I think God was showing Jonah a little something in that too. He's saying, "Jonah, you turned and you ran. Okay? You ran and then I humbled you." Correct, yes. I humbled you and then you did what I asked you to do. But then you kind of wanted your guiltiness, your guilty hatred for that country to be destroyed. So you turned and you spoke to them, correct? And then you came back up on the mountain and then sort of blasted a little bit and let the flesh get the best of you to destroy them. Now Jonah, they turned and they're honoring me. And I can't do it. I can't destroy it. I didn't kill you when you literally asked me to. I might as well be dead. It's better than living. Man, if God was a man of His word and didn't have so much stinking mercy, Jonah would have never even been able to say that again. He would have said it one time and done. But it shows the God that we serve. He has so much mercy and so much grace for those who earnestly seek Him like Nineveh did.
But we can always, like I said last time, use that grace too much and trample the blood of Christ, which we don't want to do. But right now I'm going to actually show you some of the song lyrics, why I got this title from it, which is, I love this song. It's a rock song, but I love it. But it says, the end is where we begin. It's crawling back when we run away, as Jonah did. He ran away, he came back to God. And it says, where the broken hearts mend and start to beat again, the end is where we begin. It's showing you right here that the band is saying, the end is where we begin. As people, I mean, we're Christians, but we still are humans. We fail. That's what it's saying, we're crawling back. The end is where we begin. We all have an end to where we truly began. We all have a story. And some of us have a story that needs to be shared to save others' lives. But it's all about, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down, it matters how many times you get back up. And it's all about the end. Once we come to the end of our flesh, once we come to the end of our plans, like Jonah when he ran, and then when they just wanted to live in sin, they didn't care. We all had to come to an end of our plans and reverence God and come to Him. That's where we truly begin. The end of this so-called life, the end of this life this luxurious life that we have, is where we truly begin and live for God. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I actually enjoyed that one pretty good amount. I like that one. But I'm going to end with a prayer. I would like for you guys to bow your heads and close your eyes. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you right now, and I thank you again for the privilege to be able to speak on your behalf. I spoke what you wanted me to speak, Father. I really believe that. And I ask that the people who were watching, I pray that they receive it with an open heart and an open mind, that they got something out of it, because I know I did. And I pray that you will be with your people as the weeks continue. And I pray that you will show them love and mercy and grace and peace. And I pray that you will continue to show them that it's okay if we fail, but it's not okay to stay there. The end is where we truly begin. And I pray that you would just be with your people, keep them safe and keep them healthy until we can meet again on another Friday night. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. And like I said, if you guys ever want to shout me out, holler at me, just talk to me, whatever, you can always catch me on Instagram, C.H.A.M.P Ministries, all one word, or Facebook, C.H.A.M.P Ministries, all one word. Hope you guys enjoyed it.